The perfect workout program is a total myth, but what I'm going to show you couldn't be further from myth, and in fact is the difference between average and mind-blowing results. While there are no exercises you absolutely have to do, there is a formula behind every truly effective program, and it's built around 6 non-negotiable movement patterns. I've been a coach since 2016 and I've coached hundreds of clients both in the gym and now online. On top of that, I've gotten myself some pretty decent results following this exact approach. Stick around because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what's behind the perfect workout program. So what are the 6 of them? You have squat, hip hinge, lunge or single leg. You got push, which is upper body. You then got pull, which is upper body as well. And then you have a loaded carry. If your workouts are blatantly disregarding any one of these, not only are you damaging your immediate progress, but you're also playing Russian roulette with your long-term risk of injury. To put it bluntly, no program is complete without hitting each one of these patterns every single week. The great thing about this approach is it removes the over-reliance on exercises that simply don't work for certain individuals. There's going to be no more trying to fit square pegs in the round holes and just getting yourself hurt doing dumb shit. The reason I love using movement patterns to develop training programs and just create some awesome workouts is simple. It's because it allows us to train effectively for our current level. There's none of this bullshit of trying to fit people into certain exercises that they may not be able to do. For each of these 6 movement patterns, we have a movement pyramid. And the goal of this pyramid is to start off near the bottom, depending on your level, and then work your way up the pyramid. Each time you do that, you are increasing the complexity and the skill needed and the strength and mobility. Right, let's get stuck into number 1, and that is the hip hinge. This is, you guessed it, all about loading up your hips. This is the most fundamentally forgotten about movement pattern of them all, and is one of the main reasons behind a lot, and I mean a lot, of lower back pain. If you can't hinge correctly, the force your body is producing will then be placed either through your knees or your spine, which either way, not that good. When it's the latter, when it's your lower back, the issues are just endless. Again, that's not something any of us want any part of. How many people have you actually heard of that have done their back in, hurt themselves, just picking dog shit off the floor? And that's because they just loaded their spine instead of loading their hips. So the hip hinge is a very, very, very transferable movement to everyday life. This is arguably the most complicated movement to learn, but once you do learn it, it is going to open up a huge array of exercises that will allow you to get strong as for anyone with a history of lower back pain. This is hands down the most important movement pattern you are going to learn. The main muscles used here are going to be your glutes, your ass cheeks, your hamstrings, and your core, and then a bit of lower back as well. With some of the exercises, like a conventional deadlift, for instance, you're pretty much using all of your muscles. Generally speaking, hip hinge is for the posterior part of the body, so your lower half, glutes, hamstrings, etc., etc. So the foundational hip hinge pyramid looks something like this. Right at the very bottom there, the most simple hip hinge movement is the glute bridge, and that's because it's done from our back. Then we move on to hip thrust, pull throughs. I'm not going to go through each one of them, but as you can see, the higher we go up the pyramid, the more complex the exercises are, and then we finish off right at the very, very top of the skill and complexity level with a barbell deadlift. The goal is to move from the bottom all the way up to the top. Now, do you have to get to the very, very top of the summit, to the top of the pyramid? No, you don't. The goal is to get to a position where you are comfortable and meets your unique needs and wants, all right? Not everyone needs to be doing barbell deadlifts, okay? So get to a position where you're comfortable and stay there. And as you've seen from that pyramid there, the most common exercises are conventional deadlift, which is, like I said, my favorite exercise, bar none. Romanian deadlift, you got glute bridge, hip thrust, etc., etc. So some awesome exercises with the hip hinge. The second one is the squat, another lower body behemoth. When it comes to lower body there's no really beating the squats. It's one of the most natural human movements there is. Think about how many times each day do you stand up and down, if not just to sit up and down from the toilet 4 or 5 times a day. Is that just me? But yeah, it's a super, super important natural movement. But unfortunately, the squat becomes very unnatural for a lot of people. And that is associated with just a lot of uncomfortable movement, mostly knee pain, hip pain, ankle pain, and actually lower back pain as well. When we train this pattern correctly, you're going to target your quads, your glutes, your adductors, your inner thighs, and your core. Like I said with the previous pattern as well, when you're doing an exercise like the conventional deadlift, for instance, when you're doing a barbell back squat or a front squat, you're going to be working pretty much most of your body in one way or another. So again, just shows you how important a squat is just for overall strength and performance. Squats are not a very effective exercise for strengthening your hamstrings or the back of your thigh, but you're already hitting them with your hip hinge. The squat is foundational for lower body strength and just improving your overall movement and capabilities in your day-to-day life. So when you're good at squatting, just life becomes a little bit easier. Right, let's have a look at the squat pattern pyramid. So as you can see right at the bottom, nice and simple, we have a bodyweight squat. We're working all the way up to, as you probably guessed, peak pyramid for your squats is a barbell back squat. That is the most complex and advanced version of a squat. Once again, the goal is to work from the bottom all the way to the top or somewhere there or thereabouts. If you do this correctly, this is going to ensure that you can move through your squats, get better at the squats, improve your skill of squatting, and do it safely and effectively, which is the goal for everyone. So you can see just from that pyramid alone how important it is to work your way up that pyramid with patience. If you're smart about it, you will get the strength, the muscle that you want, but you're going to get it in one piece. No blown out knees or bad backs when you do it like this. Third pattern we have is the lunge or single leg training. Now, life happens, believe it or not, one leg at a time. You're walking, running, climbing stairs, getting in and out of car. They're all done with one leg. So if you're serious about your performance in and out of the gym, you need to be hitting this pattern and you need to be hitting it hard. Training on just two legs will eventually lead to issues such as instability on one side of the body, because whether you know it or not, if you are doing a leg press, for instance, or you're squatting and you're consistently pushing with both legs, there might be one side of the body that's doing 60% of the work. You do that for long enough, eventually there's going to be an imbalance that will occur, and that imbalance could lead to an issue and an injury. So it's in your best interest to train single legs so you keep either side of the body as balanced as you possibly can. And that in turn is going to make your double leg movements, your bilateral movements, a hell of a lot stronger. Let's have a look at the pyramid for the lunge or the single leg. So as we can see there, right at the bottom, we have everyone's favorite movement. We have the split squat. What an absolute joy. And then right up at the very top, which could be a bit shocking to some people, is we have a walk-in lunge. Now, the walk-in lunge is peak single leg training. And the reason for that is because you are doing single leg and you are doing it in a dynamic fashion. With the lunge, with single leg movements, the muscles used are just a combination of the two previous patterns. And exercises here include single leg RDL, reverse lunge, step up, you've got single leg press. So yeah, anything done with just one leg can be put into this pattern. Before we move on to pattern number 4, do stick around to the end because I'm going to then go through how much of each we should be doing, or give you a rough guide so you've got an idea of how many of each pattern you should actually be hitting every week. So stick around. Let's move on to the 4th movement pattern, and it's time to get some upper body stuff, and that is the push pattern. Now, this also happens to be the most butchered and overtrained movement of them all. This covers 2 types of pushes. First, you've got horizontal pushing, so pushing from your chest outwards with exercises like push-ups, bench press, and machine chest press. Then there's vertical pushing movement. So yeah, you guessed it, pushing a weight above your head. With this, you are looking at exercises like overhead press, seated shoulder press, and halos. This is definitely the most common pattern trained amongst lads in the gym. I know when I was younger, it was straight in, chest Mondays, chest again on a Wednesday probably, maybe chest again on a Friday with some shoulders as well. So yeah, this is super, super common. And that's because the push pattern trains your chest, your shoulders, and your triceps, which just, it makes us jacked, which is what all the lads want, especially in your early 20s. Right, let's have a look at the push pyramid. So first up, we have the horizontal push pattern pyramid. Right at the bottom there, we have hand elevated push up. We go down to a regular push up, and we finish right at the end, right at the very top, peak with a flat barbell bench press. Now, depending on your experience level, obviously you might not need to go into the bottom, but the issue here is, again, much like the squat, how often do we see people go into the gym and the first thing they do is they sit under a bar and they barbell bench press without having earned the right to use a barbell? Now, I've been that person. I've been the young, excited lad that's got into the gym and all he's done is gone straight in, one warm-up set of bench press and then just bench press without having built the necessary strength for one, but just the stability and the skill to actually bench press correctly. Bench press is a super complex movement. Even though it looks like you're just pushing the bar up and down, there is a shit ton of skill to correctly bench press properly. And if you don't do it right, more often than not, you're going to end up with some bad shoulders. And I definitely paid the price in my younger days for just poor bench pressing technique or doing too much of it and ending up with a bit of a bad shoulder as a result. So yeah, be smart, work your way up from the bottom up. And then vertical push pattern, we have the half kneeling single arm landmine Y press. Awesome exercise. And then we go through the pattern and we end up right at the top with a barbell overhead press. So definitely the most complex movement of them all. Now, when it comes to pushing above your head, vertical pressing is by far and away the most difficult or most challenging movement pattern there is. And that's because to push a weight above your head requires not only a lot of stability, but also a lot of mobility. If somebody is really jacked up here, I don't mean muscly, I mean just all stiff and locked up in their pecs and their lats, their ability then to lift their arm above their head is going to be restricted. So when they then go to load that up and push your weight above their head, if they can't do that correctly, they're going to compensate. And where are they going to compensate? They're going to compensate in their lower back. You do that for long enough and yeah, you don't need me to tell you the next bit. Fifth, and that is the pull. Now, arguably the most important upper body part, actually, it is. And again, this is split up into two types of pulling, the exact opposite of what we just had a minute ago with the pushing movements. So first up, we have horizontal pulling, which is, as you guessed, pulling anything towards your chest from out in front with exercises such as barbell row, single arm row, or just machine row. Then we have vertical pulling movements, which is, yes, as you guessed it, pulling a weight from above your head and down. This includes exercises like the most common one, pull-ups, pull-downs, and then also cable pullovers. Now, much like the previous one, when we pull weights above our head, that is actually more complex and complicated than people actually think it is. And again, that just goes down to mobility. It's very easy to put yourself into a lat pull down and pull that weight up and down. But again, if you don't have very good mobility in your upper body and your ability to just straighten your arms above your head is impeded, if you keep repeatedly loading that movement with lat pull downs, for instance, or really poorly executed pull downs, a shoulder injury may not be too uncommon somewhere down the line. Might not be in a week, might not be in 3 months, might not be in 3 years, but trust me, more often than not, that shit catches up with you. Okay, let's have a little look at the pyramid for the pull pattern. So right at the bottom there of the horizontal pull pattern pyramid, right mouthful that, isn't it, is an inverted row. Moving up then you have like cable rows, chest supported row. Right at the very top then, we have a bent over row variations. There's a reason why bent over rows are right at the very top, and that is because it is a very complex and dynamic movement. Then with the vertical pull pattern pyramid, you're starting off at the bottom with a bit of a high angle cable row. Awesome exercise. Working your way up, then you got lat pull downs, and right at the very top, we're going for pull-ups. In my opinion, if you want to get true strength in your upper body, you can't really do that as well if you ain't smashing pull-ups. Lat pull downs are great, don't get me wrong, but if you want to develop great strength and also just a great back, then pull-ups, in my opinion, need to be in your program. It doesn't have to be pull-ups free weight. It can be band assisted pull-ups as well, which are an awesome variation. The great thing about the pull pattern is it's going to strengthen up your backs. You're smashing your lats, your rhomboids, just all those upper back muscles. You're also getting your biceps, especially with pull-ups and chin-ups. If you want bigger biceps, do a bunch of chin-ups and pull-ups. Trust me, it's what's worked for me the best. I don't have massive arms compared to some of the monsters out there, but the best progress I've seen has been from doing lots of pull-ups and push-ups. It's also awesome for your posture, okay? So keeping that balance from front to back, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. So if you want to move well, and like I said, avoid shoulder issues, then pulling, not out in the nightclub, pulling in the gym needs to be a huge priority of yours. When it comes to push and pull, there are two ratios to focus on if your goal is peak performance and just pain-free shoulder training. And that is a 3-to-1 push to pull ratio, and then a 2-to-1 horizontal to vertical pull ratio. So what I mean by that is when you are doing your workouts, is that over the course of a week, you should do 3 times as many pull exercises as you do push. That is going to enable you to keep balance. Far too much of our life is done with this. Everything's done in front of us. We have our phones. We're like this. Shoulders like this. We're on our laptops. All right. We're looking at cameras. We push doors. Too much of our life driving. Too much of our life is spent in the front. So to balance that out and get that nice posture, we want to prioritize pulling over pushing, okay? And it's just much better for your shoulders. And then when we move to horizontal and vertical pulling, again, we want to prioritize horizontal over vertical. We're not prioritized as such. We just want to lean more towards more reps and sets with exercises pulling towards us. So machine rows, single arm row, as opposed to exercises from the top down, like pull-ups and pull-downs, okay? If you follow these two ratios, your shoulders are going to be, they're going to be bulletproofed, okay? And hopefully you never have to worry about a shoulder injury in the past, which I can tell you right now is boring as hell. Now, you might be sat there thinking, where the fuck are my bicep curls and lateral raises? Like, come on. We all want a bit of a bicep. That's just the name of the game. Upper body exercises are easily placed in either of these two patterns we've just mentioned. Easiest way to do it is any isolation exercise that uses the biceps or upper back or the rear of the shoulders is seen as a pulling exercise, okay, or a pulling accessory. So think bicep curls or face pulls or pull aparts. They would be pulling exercises and pulling accessories. On the flip side of that, any isolation exercise that focuses on the triceps or shoulders is seen as a pushing exercise or a pushing accessory. So think tricep extension or lateral raise. And if you follow these rules, you're never going to get stuck. And then finally, we have the carry, which is without a doubt the most underrated movement in the gym, but it is an absolute beast. And that's because carries build real world strength. They're also going to build up your grip. They're going to work your posture. They're going to improve your core and then just overall full body control and strength. Without doubt, the most important benefit to training carry is it's going to help you do the shopping in one trip. You're going to be able to take all those bags in from the back of your car, all 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 10 of them. And you're going to be able to take them all in one trip, which is what we all want deep down. So let's have a look at the movement pyramid for the carry. So right there at the bottom, we have the farmer's carry. It is an absolute awesome exercise. We got a front racked carry right at the very top. Peak carry is a double overhead carry. Now that is an absolute behemoth of an exercise. If you can work your way through this pyramid and end up there, you will have a very, very strong and highly functioning body. But if you want true strength, you need to be doing carries in your program, in your workouts, in my opinion, every week. I need to be mixing it up. Progressively work your way through that pyramid, go from the bottom up to the top. And trust me, they are a lot harder than they actually look. Simply walking with something in your hands, in both hands, in one hand, a different weight in one side to the other, or like I said, both arms above your head is a lot harder than it actually looks. You're going to be using muscles in ways that you didn't know you could, and you're going to be using muscles you just didn't know you had. Now, you don't need to train all 6 patterns every single session, but across the whole week, they need to be all in there, all right? What you want to do is you want to build your program around these 6 movement patterns, moving through the movement patterns, and then using progressive overload to ensure progression. And you're going to get stronger, you're going to get bigger, if that's your goal, of course. But critically, you're going to build balance within your physique, which is the goal, because if we don't have balance, the potential for us to get hurt is going to increase, all right? You're going to do all this without wasting your precious time and potentially getting hurt by doing dumb shit with your training program. If you wanted to do 3 killer full body sessions a week, you could just easily do all 6, 3 times a week. And there you go. You have an absolute epic workout program. You could just add in some of your accessories as well. Like I said, you've got your upper body accessories for push, pull. You get your bicep curls, your lateral raises, all that sort of stuff. And you have the template for a really simple yet highly effective strength training program. And that's the goal with strength training. Strength training at its core is super simple, but people, especially in this day and age with influencers and online coaches that haven't stepped foot in the gym and trained a client once in their life, is they want to just make things overly complex for the sake of seeming smart and clever, when in reality they're just morons. Lift heavy, lift consistent, progressively challenge yourself, and you do that for long enough and you're going to get stronger, you're going to get bigger, faster, leaner, and you're going to have less pain. The good rule of thumb is just to aim to hit each pattern twice a week, minimum. You are training exercises or you're training movements multiple times per week, you're going to make a lot more progress than if you're just doing the bro split and you're training things once per week. You can move that up to 3 times a week and 4 times a week when you get more advanced. For me, it's a smarter way to train, and it makes things just much simpler. To summarize, the bro split it's dead. We have 6 movement patterns, each with its own movement pyramid. We've got hip hinge, we've got the squat, we got the single leg or the lunge, we got the pull, we got the push, and we have the carry. When it comes to the push-pull ratio, we want to aim for a ratio of 3-to-1 in favor of pull. And then when we're coming to horizontal to vertical pulling, we want a ratio of 2-to-1 in favor of horizontal to vertical. And that is to help with our shoulders, so we've got pain-free shoulders for life. You also don't need to train all 6 movement patterns every single session, but across the week, this should all be in there. Like I said, do at least 2 every week. Do all this and the perfect workout program is yours, just like I said at the very start of the video. I hope that's been helpful. If it has, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and I shall catch you again soon. Hello, you wonderful person again. What I want you to do is, if you enjoyed that video, which if you're here, I'm going to guess you did, then check out this video here, because if you like this one, then I promise you're going to like that, and just yeah, click on it please, because if you don't, then I don't get any views, and maybe I won't keep making these videos. But yeah, do me a favor, click on that video, and I'll catch you for the next one.